Thanks for taking the time to listen to us today. I'm Chloe, this is Kirsty, and this is Nikki, and today we'll be talking to you about the role of occupational therapy in Indigenous mental health. As many of us are aware, there's a significant gap between the health status of Australia's Indigenous and non-Indigenous population. The most common statistic that's presented when discussing this issue is the 10-year life expectancy gap. However, many people would be unaware that mental health conditions account for 22% of this gap. The most recent Health and Welfare of Australia's Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Peoples report in 2015 stated that 30% of Indigenous Australians experienced high and very high psychological stress. The report also identified suicide as the leading cause of death for Indigenous Australians aged between 10 and 25. In addition to the mental health gap, there's a prevalent gap in mental health care. In Indigenous populations and communities, mental health conditions often go unnoticed, undiagnosed, and untreated. The current health system is thought to marginalise the mental health needs of the Indigenous population, as it does not recognise the impacts of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander beliefs and laws on mental health, and has not adequately adapted its services to provide truly competent care. Compounding the problem, the Indigenous population is also more likely to experience difficulties accessing health services if they have a mental health condition. When looking at the general impact of mental health on occupational performance, we can see that it's well documented that individuals with mental health conditions experience occupational disruptions to varying degrees. According to the World Health Organization, mental illness is the leading cause of disability worldwide. Mental illness can significantly impact an individual's ability to participate in daily occupations and engage in productive routines that contribute to a meaningful life. When focusing on mental health in the context of the Indigenous population, we must consider the impact of history. Since the invasion and colonisation of Australia, there's been a long-standing history of policies and events that have denied and continue to deny the full participation of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples to live the life that they want to live, to practice their cultures, and to decide on the occupations they choose to participate in. In addition to this deprivation, research suggests that mental health conditions in the Indigenous population underpin many other problems, such as family and community breakdowns, substance misuse, and unemployment.
Okay, so considering the current gap, OT is an essential service to cater for the needs of the Indigenous population, as well as providing an understanding of the importance of the interconnectedness of spirituality, mental health, and occupation. As you can see on the slides here, OTs have a significant role in providing high-quality interventions and therapy to the Indigenous population. I'll draw your attention to the third point regarding the promotion of recovery. This promotion and advocacy, specifically relating to the mental health challenges of this population, ensures that consumers reach their full potential, live meaningful lives in their community, and enjoy their daily occupations. It is essential in the more rural and remote areas that this advocacy occurs, not only for the individual, but the community as a whole. OT supports the Indigenous population's occupational participation in their activities of daily living, leisure, and productivity through the following. I'll draw your attention to the first point, considering the spirituality and belief systems of the consumer and the community. This allows therapists to encourage re-engagement in meaningful occupations, in which participation is often hindered by mental health conditions. The holistic approach to OT encourages the acknowledgement of the importance of the connection to country and language. This allows the consumer to participate not only in these spiritual occupations, but also has a significant positive flow-on effect for occupational productivity, self-care, and leisure. In order for this to occur, offering the service of Indigenous health workers, Aboriginal liaison officers, facilitates effective communication between the individual, their family, and the community. The last point on the slide draws on how OTs conduct assessments and provide interventions that are not standardised and more observation-based and culturally appropriate. Okay, so the 3 points on the slide demonstrate how OTs can provide a unique perspective and contribution to the health provision of Indigenous mental health. I'd like to emphasise the first point on community-focused approaches to interventions and how the connection between the strength of the individual and community are inextricably linked.
So one of the more unique aspects of OT is the involvement in all three major levels of service provision in mental health, which are known as intensive, targeted, and universal. So the most unique aspect of this is that we provide a beneficial and meaningful contribution in the universal service. The OT can be provided to all individuals with or without mental health challenges. The universal programs help all individuals successfully participate in occupations that promote positive mental health. This is particularly individual to OT, as many healthcare services don't become involved until there is an identified mental health issue or a need for intervention. So as you can see on the image here, there is a spectrum which can be, and where OT can be involved in all of these stages. Oops. So the strong spirit, strong mind model. So we chose to base our promotional video on this model as it approaches the topic of mental health through individuals and communities' inner spirit. So the inner spirit model was developed by an Indigenous man, Joseph Rowe, as a culturally secure approach to express the concepts of emotional, spiritual, and social well-being in a therapeutic context. The model also takes a narrative approach and is presented through images, which has been highlighted in the literature as a more effective delivery mode of information due to Indigenous cultural traditions and potential language barriers. So the inner spirit represents a person's social and emotional well-being and is demonstrated through an image of a person in 3 different stages. It signifies where a consumer's current mental state could be. So the consumer can select the person they most identify with at that point in time. However, it's not solely based on a person's mental state, as it considers the influence of the social determinants of health, acknowledging health as being multifaceted, complex, and unique to each individual, such as connection to country, kinship, and engagement in occupations. So as mentioned previously, the ability to provide a service at all levels of a consumer's mental health journey is a strength mirrored in the strong spirit, strong mind model. As you can see on the image displayed, each zone is a visual representation of the 3 levels of service OT operates within. So red symbolising crisis or intensive intervention, orange is an area of prevention, and the green zone is an area for maintenance and exposure to increased opportunity. So lastly, in the practice guidelines, it states direct communication with Indigenous Australians can be seen as confronting and might discourage the consumer from participating. So this also contributed to the decision to incorporate the strong spirit, strong mind model to approach the topic of mental health, and also for use of images to convey our message. So here we have displayed the social determinants of health adapted for Indigenous Australians. Evidence has identified that programs implemented with the 9 guiding principles are more likely to be effective and have positive outcomes than those that don't. So social and emotional wellbeing also has a broader scope in that it takes a holistic view of health, which aligns with Indigenous attitudes towards their health. It also recognises the importance of connection to land, culture, spirituality, ancestry, family and community, and how these connections have been shaped across generations, and the processes by which they affect the individual's well-being and the consequences of those on participation and occupation. So this social emotional wellbeing model also includes a number of core Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander values and has been presented, discussed and supported by over 300 social emotional wellbeing members. And it also incorporates feedback from extensive community consultations that have been held. So these are factors that have contributed to why we chose to base our promotional video on this theoretical foundation. So thanks for listening to us, and here's just some of our references. That's it. All right, thank you. Figure out how to get it off.
Oh my